Chapter 2. Part 2.
That voice. Agnoruk turned his head. Someone came out of the cabin and rested his hands on the wooden railing of the porch. It was Arian. I could make out his brown hair, which was fluttering in the gentle breeze, and a small blue spherical jewel that surrounded his thin neck. The woman smiled when she saw him arrive. Agnoruk walked calmly toward his house. Arian came down from the cabin to meet the half-orc who was slowly advancing. They had not seen each other for more than a decade since their farewell in Almera. At Arian's warning, Kush, Thanae, and an unknown young woman came out of the interior. The Kendali knew the place well. 2 years before they said goodbye right here, when she and Gosberg returned to Almera while the half-orc chose not to accompany them. He had decided to retire and stay at his father's house. Arian quickly arrived to meet Agnoruk to hug him effusively. Arian looked very good. She was very tanned, probably because of the sun of Almera. Physically her condition was excellent. A neat brown man stood out. Her brown eyes shone with the confidence of who was Elaban's messenger in Sharnaries. He couldn't help it. Arian kissed Agnoruk on the cheek. "How much I have missed you, Agnoruk." The half-orc remained silent. The truth is that despite being separated they both knew each other's adventures. But Arian was much more informed than he was. Thanks to Sabu's return to the company 4 years ago and then a little later with the return of the Kendali and the talkative Denka, Arian obtained great information about the half-orc's adventures. Once Arian calmed down, the two walked to the cabin where the rest of the entourage was waiting for them. "You are much thinner than before. You even look taller." Agnoruk smiled. He had undergone Spartan training these 2 years. He had lost volume, although in return his endurance, agility, and fortitude were much greater than before. "I've tried to correct certain things in my fighting style." "Seriously?" "Well, it looks great on you." Kush was the first to come out to embrace the half-orc with the same effusiveness as Arian. The magician also showed an excellent appearance. He did not seem to pass time on his face. His beard, as always, was perfectly cared for. "I'm so glad to see you, Agnoruk." Thanae, as usual with her, stayed in the background, only making a slight bow with her head. The last member of the entourage was missing, who slowly approached the height of the rest. Arian made the introduction to Agnoruk. "Agnoruk, I introduce you to one of my most outstanding disciples, Anthra." The young woman, who must have been about 20 years old, approached the half-orc and made a solemn bow. "An honor, my lord." The half-orc smiled amused. It seemed that the girl was in the presence of a sanctimonious or a mummy. "They don't deserve them." "How long have you had female disciples?" Agnoruk turned in surprise to Arian. "After returning the triumph of Elaban to the temple of Turk-Hymak, we managed to end the curse of the damned. Word spread far and wide, and many came to the temple to be initiated on the path of the Elaban priesthood, as in ancient times." The half-orc scratched his head. Priests of Elaban in Sharnaries again. It was certain, without a doubt, that a new era was beginning and Arian was its chief architect. "Arian is an example to everyone. I just aspire to serve her to the best of my ability," declared the young disciple. Agnoruk was unimpressed by feigned humility. Anthra was not as tall as Arian, but she had an elegant bearing. Her black hair was tied back and only a fringe that ran down her broad forehead stood out. Her blue eyes were vivid and they watched everything carefully. "Yes, who would have thought when we met in that tavern in Xeres that you would end up being admired by all of Sharnaries?" Agnoruk declared. Arian began to laugh out loud to the amazement of Anthra, who was used to a much more solemn Arian. "Damn Gosberg and its traps." Agnoruk smiled as he recalled that fight in Ordoni's tavern. "I still don't know how we got out of that big troll shit alive. You know, a year ago we traveled to Tergir. Ordoni is still alive and he remembered us. And he was frightened again when he saw Gosberg again." "Back?" "Yes, we wanted to see Caesarea and the temple where the jewel originated from again. Besides, I missed my home and wanted to join a remnant of Nilam with those of my parents. The half-orc understood Arian. She was very changed. Now it was noticeable that she knew the power and influence she had. When he left his side, he didn't know the consequences of what he had done in Tripulia. Now he seemed to know exactly what he wanted to do. Everyone entered the hut. Agnoruk left his backpack next to the door. Vanas had taken the liberty of preparing dinner, for he knew full well where the half-orc kept things. It smelled good. The Kendali was an excellent cook, despite the fact that many times the raw material she had was somewhat scarce. The half-orc approached the iron pot that was on the fire of the fireplace and smelled it. The aroma was unmistakable, a stew of batora, silka roots, dried chickpeas, and salted sea snake meat. One of the half-orc's favorite dishes. My lord, I took the trouble to pick batora leaves and the silka roots that grow behind the house. You have done very well, Vanas. You haven't lost your faculties cooking. If the food is ready, it is better to sit down at the table. Arian added.